Well, here is where I would give some sort of pressing speech about how we've come a long way, or it's been a long, difficult journey, or like something like, something inspiring or imposing, but really, it hasn't been any of those things. It's been 50-some episodes of you and me and anyone else who might stumble upon the videos watching AI-controlled cars drive around real-life racetracks. So really, this is closer to a talk show than an actual Let's Play. But hey, that's what's fun about it, right? Because what good show doesn't have a few adaptations to different genres? I say this as I can think of literally only two that's adapted to multiple genres, but that's not the point. We're basically on an Act 1 car lineup here. And of course, this isn't really the end either. It's the second last part of it, canonically speaking. And this is technically a finale in a way, because it does it provides closure on the whole Carbon deal, who has not gotten off to a great start in this round so far. We have Ryan and XT3 who are taking off for the start of the race. Alex somewhat giving chase. I should have spent a bit longer in the pre-race screen, because now I'm going to get distracted by the race happening, and I'm not going to be able to pay attention to what I'm trying to explain. So as of now, even at this moment, I'm going to mention that this is of course not the finale. It's sort of the finale. It's the finale for the Carbon part of it, but part 11 is technically the finale. If we're going to be canonically accurate, this isn't it. This is this penultimate part. It's the longest part, and it's got the biggest lead up because we're dealing with the main villain, Carbon, who I think might not really be the best equipped racer. For subtlety, he gives away any amount of efficiency he might have had. Or so it would seem. Yep, Carbon's got destroyed, but are passed dominantly by 16 Angels. That's a long lap time, oh my lord. So, yeah, but part 11 does provide a lot of closure on a very different topic. The one with the whole Powerpuff Girls affair of, did they escape and all that other stuff, which the outcome of that tournament would kind of decide between the events and outcomes of other certain later, bonus non-canon acts that are there for filler. It won't be uploaded on nearly as constant of a basis as this. I'll probably be once a week at most, unless I get really bored one day and I'll be like, oh, let's upload 3 videos. Yeah, it's effective use of my time, not a waste, but you know what I meant. I assume. Maybe you didn't. I don't know. I won't know for another few hours, so XT3 cannot find a way around Ryan. Ryan's probably pretty desperate for a win by this point, considering how long it's been since he's had one in this car. His last one probably being like... probably the last time he had that car, really. Like Act probably 3. But ever since then, all of his opponent cars have been so much better equipped for races than his that he just hasn't had much of a chance to get a win. And of course, awkwardly, this is also the universe that Sonic exists in, somehow, I guess. Maybe he got taken here too, he doesn't really... He had no time to explain, he has to go fast. But Sonic is here in Vert's original car. In typical Brawl fashion, he's here at the very last minute, despite as fast as he is. But the entire point of Act 11, too, is it's going to be kind of half-canon, half-comedy-based, because while it is there to resolve the conflict between Mojo, the Powerpuff Girls, and everyone else involved in that ordeal, but the way that I've set it up to resolve that hopefully should provide some interesting turns of events, because of the fact that, like, well, the way that they're being offensive, some of the drivers should be pretty interesting. Vern's still in last. This is... Okay, now there's no real reason. He's in a car that should be competing with all of these racers, and he just is unable. Oh god, it's gonna get confusing on the leaderboards because there's two drivers with RAC. Race Cam and Race Man. The final lap, and XT3 still hasn't gotten close enough to Ryan to even try to pass him yet. Meanwhile, Vert has activated, like, supercharged, like 3 supercharged boosts and gotten up to the front pack. That's what it seems like he would have had to have done to get up here this fast. He is immediately just attacking XT3 and makes that look relatively easy. Yeah, Bird found a nice car here, even though it looks pretty basic, because, well, in all reality, I think it really is. I'm trying to like stay on topic for the first race and keep it relevant to the racing. And then as for the second and third race of the episode, I'll get into a couple of extra topics. Burn apparently moved to 13th at some point, I guess, past me and Carbon, and now trying to take Gearhead's place. And with that corner, that determines that Bert has been unable to take the lead on the last corner. And Ryan Storm, for the first time in several acts, finally gets a win. Granted, it could be worse. There are drivers who have never won before. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I know there has to be at least one that's been in many different acts and has no wins. I mean, there's myself. I've been like 4 or 5, but I don't know if I count myself in that regard, but like... I don't think it's considered. So Fast doesn't win that much, for example. Or that. So we can go into a different type of course here. We go on to a junior course. I don't expect this race to be nearly as interesting as normal Mons races are, but it should still be a unique experience. Since we've never watched a race on this version of the course before. So of course every other weekend is when I go to visit my dad's, and he has PS2 there, or he has a PS2 there, and just 2 is his own, and then I brought mine down because his doesn't work very well. But one such thing that I did, well, a couple of things I did. One, I played a little bit of Hot Wheels Beat That. Sort of keeping in theme with what I've been watching, I've been playing the same game. I thought I was further on it, but I'm actually not. I must have deleted my save or something a while ago, or lost it or something, because I'm only on I was only on the first mini golf tournament, or the first difficulty in the mini golf tournament. Interesting. Like, I knew it did this, it's just like... I knew what the junior course was because a more modern version is still used in other games. So Fast attempts to stay on the outside of that, but this gets him nowhere. Not gaining or losing any distance to each other down the much shorter straightaway now. They're still too wide. That's some nice grass there so fast. The other thing that I did though was I played Velocity X a bunch. Specifically I basically did the if I remember it, you were planning to do at some point in the near future was the only MST Suzuka playthrough. I basically just did the same thing earlier, and it took me like 3 hours. I had some annoying restarts because atom blasters are painful. Really god darn painful in that game, especially on higher difficulties. Granted, I was only on medium, not very hard, like I think you said you were doing, but I don't know if I would recommend that for the sake of the Let's Play. I would recommend one or the other. Either every car on very hard or MST Suzuka on normal or lower, because, yeah, as you probably figured out, MST Suzuka, ironically, as I said, this is Danny's on screen, is not really the greatest car. If me from an hour and a half from now remembers, I took a picture of me beating Otto with MST Suzuka on normal. Like, it's a picture of the objective complete screen, more or less, to show, hey, I win. This is a canonical fight right here. So Fast versus that. And 60 Angels is not far away. Sonic has been working his way up as well. Though I don't think from here he has the time to get down to the podium unless 16 Angels or someone else up there makes an error. And or starts battling with another driver, in which case Sonic might even get second if he's lucky. Speaking of Suzuka, Danny is fighting Raceman now. Another project I've started work on, and I don't know when I will be able to complete it, or, well, actually start the recording of said project. It'll be like the same thing as like, a similar case to like the recovery drive I had with Raceman a while ago. As well as things like the crash that he had. They're not part of the series specifically, but they're relevant to its plotline, and therefore they end up in the playlist for the Hot Wheels, that plotline. So, the game called GT Sport, which is basically Gran Turismo 7, but not really so much because it doesn't have much of what Gran Turismo is known for, like a massive variety of cars or cool tracks or anything. Yeah, it's a simulation. It's more realistic and whatnot, and the cars it has are fine, but just like Gran Turismo is just known for a game with just like being a game that just basically has every kind of car. Everything from Japanese grocery getters, probably shorter than my TV is wide, to Jay Leno's special tank car from his garage that hasn't left the garage in probably several years, at least. Gran Turismo Sport throws that out the window in place of, you know, an official motorsport group officiating the game, more or less. So now we go to Magione, another sort of low speed track, lower than even that last course. Because even that track has two longer straightaways, not as long as they usually are, obviously, but they're still decently lengthy. But on that game, there's a livery editor, which it's not the most, shall we say, responsive system in the game, even for its own kind, because there are games like Forza who have a very similar and basically identical system, but it's just a little easier to use. But the plan for that game is I will dress up cars that are on U0 or related to cars that are on U0 or cars that would want to use on it if they were in this game. I'll dress them up to look like the canonical designs of each of the cars and then drive them around random tracks in the game. The track selection also being something that Gran Turismo games are normally known for, and this game doesn't really have the greatest one. But it has enough for what'll probably end up being like probably 10 cars at most. Doing 10 time trial laps. And then me compiling them all into one video because it just is easier that way. Something has happened back here. Alright, who screwed it up this time? Somebody did a bad maneuver. No one did anything. It was just the corner was that slow, I guess, huh? That's frankly a little bit disappointing. Granted, with these slower cars, the odds of a crash are lower than they usually are. I just started daydreaming for a moment there. I was like thinking of like a thing that I saw on the way home that was like just confusing to me. As, of course, Racecam and Ryan are making the mega 10-car train, which Ryan seems to no longer want to be a part of himself. Racecam has surprisingly good handling for being in a big muscle car. Will it help him, though? I'm gonna go ahead and guess no. So as for the GT Sports series, I've already finished doing up six cars. Granted, one of them was done for me. One was just changing the paint color, and then there's really only 4 that I decorated in any way, shape, or form. I'm about to say how well will Tim Byrne take to being passed. Well, it's not really his problem, because X23 is all the way up there already. His car isn't well meant for this track, either, but because he got such an advantage from everyone else getting in each other's way, he got a nice distance from the rest of the faculties? Alright. The pack. Alright, Danny. That's a very justice move there, except it doesn't even work, I don't think. Never mind, yeah, well. That's a lap time. Nearly 3 seconds faster than what Raceman can do. Bert just checked out at this point. He's going to win by at least 10 seconds, probably much more than that. And now Raceman is a 3-car train going towards the start-finish line right now. This will be an interesting final lap. As enthused as I probably sound when I yawn every, like, 5 minutes or so. Race cam throwing down the order. That Mustang, despite being a Mustang, is hardly the fastest car here, and clearly seems to actually be one of the slowest ones here, according to this track anyway. Granted, this track is more designed for cars with tight cornering. Seems to be like, this is a pretty low speed corner, and this one, the next one is as well. Medium speed into low speed after that. Another medium to low, or like a below average. Then we have straightaway into more low speed corners, and then weird S's at lower mid speeds. It's like it's a maze just as much as it is a racetrack. That just sneaks its way into a top 10 position. Coming around the final corner, it seems as though dominantly Bert will win the 3rd round of this championship. It seems as though Raceman will cling on for 2nd with Sonic and XT3 very closely in tow. Byrne, despite the odds and despite his car, manages to score a 5th place ahead of even Ryan and Alex with that performance. It's going to be a run to the finish line, but Danny's car has so much more power than that. Well, that's the line, but Danny clearly got 10th, yeah. Still had to score myself, Carbon, and Gearhead, and I think like maybe 1 or 2 more. I did not want to replay. No thank you, get away. I wish to exit. I wish to be done with this race. Yeah, it's just me, Carbon, and Gearhead that have not scored yet. Everyone else has at least 1 point. But I wouldn't really be too worried about them yet. They have 18 more races left to score something. However, that is not for this time period, or this is not for this moment in time. So that is the end of episode 1 of Act 10. As if it's not obvious, we're not even close to done. This is going to be a 7-part finale. Well, half finale. Again, which is ironic, because the second half is going to be back down to 15 one last time, and then every bonus act from then on will be 9 races, or 10, depending on the length of the races. And the final episode will actually, like, the first episode might be 4 races instead of 3, because one of my... Actually, I'll probably do like 3, 4, 3, because the first episode I'm usually explaining something, and the final episode I usually explain things, so the only time I wouldn't be doing that would be the second episode. So yeah, in the shortest video yet, at the end of the shortest video yet, anyway. And we'll now send... I am done. Episode's over. There we go.